Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Today saw the official start of repairs on the Highway 14 bridge over Highway 22 in Mankato.
And more closures are coming. Aaron Stuvey has more on the extent of the damage and why MnDOT chose now to make those repairs.
Nearly 8 months after a raised box truck hit the Highway 14 bridge on Highway 22 in Mankato, repairs have finally begun. Those repairs are expected to run until October. MnDOT says that the amount of damage is the reason for such a large reconstruction project.
So what we call the fascia beam, that first beam you see as you drive under a bridge, was hit and some of those strands were cut. So the project is going to cut away the deck very carefully, remove the railing, pull that old remove the deck, pull that old beam out, and then place a new beam that's being delivered to the site, reform the deck, place the rebar, pour the concrete, and pour the barrier.
The construction will condense eastbound traffic on Highway 14 to one lane, while northbound Highway 22 will close, detouring to Highway 14 to County Road 12 starting Friday morning. The repair comes alongside Highway 22's closing for the Augusta Drive roundabout project. MnDOT says that their yearly plan obviously didn't account for the damage to the bridge, but they worked the repair into an existing project to cause the fewest number of delays as possible, even though the total area of the closures is bigger.
So we don't like to have projects overlap, but they were just in time and space. But here we actually wanted to overlap them to minimize that disruption to the traveling public once. If we'd waited any longer, we would have had two separate disruptions.
In Mankato, Aaron Stuvey, KUYC News Now.